Futurama the game!
Well, that's right everyone, as Bender just said, I'm looking into Futurama the game. Now, I loved the Futurama TV show back in the day, and I guess I still like it, though I'm not too fond of the newer series. But boy did I have trouble trying to beat this game when I was younger. I'll get into that later. For now though, let's get started. Glagnar's Human Vines sounds wonderful.
Good news, everyone! I've sold Planet Express to Mom.
Also, why are you wearing that funky hat?
What? Oh, this? No reason.
So the situation here is that the Professor sold Planet Express to Mom, resulting in her owning over 50% of the Earth, therefore making her supreme ruler. She puts a curfew in place and anyone who doesn't abide by it will be blasted by hoverbot death troopers. The Planet Express crew don't like the sound of that one bit and suggest getting away from Earth.
To the ship!
Now that's the sort of comedy you expect from the show, thumbs up there. But oh no, of course it's not that easy. The ship is all messed up and it's up to the crew to fix it. The Professor tasks Fry with finding a hammer and that's what we do. So yeah, we're starting off playing as Fry. We get the hammer and... oh, a game over already? Well, I hope you enjoyed the video everyone and of course it's not over just yet. As you see, the Professor was working on a new invention called the Reanimator that basically explains how you respawn when you die. This was all a test to kill Fry and see if the Reanimator works. But armed with the hammer, we can play the Planet Express level. What we have to do here is find tools that are necessary for the ship to be repaired, but these tools are scattered all around the building, so it's up to us to find them all and return them to the tool rack. Now one thing a lot of people might know about by now is the Easter egg that was discovered years after the game released, which is quite literally an Easter egg hidden in this level. After 3 attempts, I managed to trigger it, which makes me wonder if any Easter eggs similar to this one are still out there, undiscovered to this day. The criteria for triggering this is quite specific too. You have to grab the key card from Leela's locker, get the 2 cash collectibles in the boiler room to the left, head down the corridor leading away from the boiler room until you reach a junction, break the glass to the fire extinguisher but don't pick up the fire extinguisher, turn right and head into the lab to open up the drawer while collecting the money that comes out, then head out of the lab and turn right, then right again to go into a lift, then go to the room to the back right while collecting exactly 7 cash collectibles and break the TV. If you do it right, you should hear a sound play, and the wall to the right as you leave opens up, revealing the Easter egg. Quite convoluted, huh? Okay, now on to the main mission. So the tools that need to be found, they range from practical items like a drill, pliers, a fire extinguisher, a fan blade that you need to get from an air duct, to stupid things like a coffee cup, a book and a calculator. You realise as well that for a 3D platformer game, you don't press X on PlayStation or A on Xbox to jump, you press circle or B. And the jump kinda sucks too, you don't jump that high so it takes some getting used to. The X or A button is reserved for attacking, with square or X doing a more powerful attack on PlayStation and Xbox respectively. You will also find cash collectibles throughout the game, so Fry finds money, Bender gets a crystal called Robobium,
It's my birthstone, Robobium!
and Leela finds gold bars. In addition to the cash collectibles, you will find hidden nibblers as well. Both of these serve to provide extras such as the artwork that gets displayed before the level starts, the music for the stage and cutscenes that play during the game. I couldn't get everything in the game, but I'll get into that a little later. So, when you find all the tools, the Professor gives Fry a gun and tasks him with getting the dark matter engine for the ship from the pawn shop downtown, but with the curfew in place, he has to take to the sewers. That's right, the obligatory sewer level. It seems as if loads of games from this era had to have a sewer level, so at least it's close to the start of the game in this case. On that note, the game came out in August 2003, which is around the time the 4th season was coming to a close. Later, on the Beast with a Billion Backs DVD, a lost episode was included as a bonus feature that contains the cutscenes and some gameplay from this game. Moving on to the actual level now, you get examples of the sort of platforming needed in order to succeed at this game, and I remember having some trouble with it back in the day, though it didn't pose too much of a challenge to me this time around. You fight two types of sewer mutants that fart sometimes, which doesn't resemble anything from the show, as well as these squid things coming out of the walls and tentacles that come out of the green crap and shoot shit at you. Oh, and if you fall into the green crap or get caught by the squid thing, it's an instant death, so you have to try and avoid it. It's worth mentioning as well that obtaining a multiple of 25 currency gives you an extra life, and every time you die, you lose all progress made during your last life. Effectively, as long as you get a multiple of 25 currency after death, you get the life you lost back, so you never really lose anything. And of course, there's more than one nibbler to find, and it's only when you obtain every nibbler and every single cash collectible in the stage that grants you the extras as mentioned earlier, so it helps to be observant. Also, there are health pickups throughout the game, so Fry gets a single Slurm can that restores 25 health, and a 6-pack of Slurm that provides 100 health. Bender gets a bottle of beer and a can of Mom's old fashioned robot oil for 25 and 100 health respectively, and Leela gets vitamins?
A full day supply of vitamin Hiya! Yum, caplets!
Also, why are there Slurm vending machines in the sewers or Slurm cans in wooden boxes? Well anyway, the characters say things when you collect currency, nibblers or health pickups which you get tired of hearing after a while.
I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. This will save me a trip to the ATM. Hey, a nibbler! I'm gonna collect all of them. Another nibbler? It's gonna be worth something. That is gonna hurt me. I found all the nibblers! I found all the nibblers! Woohoo!
Also, I didn't realise this until making this video, but the music in the level differs from the music you can listen to in the extras. Here, take a listen. So, the in-game level music contains samples of voice lines from Season 1 Episode 1 from the TV show, which is omitted from the extras version. Interesting. Fry can also obtain ammo pickups from wooden crates that can either be shot at or hit with the hammer, which provides 50 ammo. As mentioned earlier with the hammer, you have a single shot attack by pressing X, and a charged attack by holding square. You can lock onto targets by holding the R1 button, and cycle through weapons with L2 and R2. Other than that, I actually don't have a lot of things to say about this level, other than the crocodile surfing. So let's move on to the subway. Speaking of which, look at how you get to the subway in the first place. You go down this tunnel which is barred off at both ends, then a sewer mutant busts through the wall which has an exposed pipe that leads to a subway corridor for some reason. Just think if that mutant never came through the wall, Fry would be stuck in that dingy tunnel with no way back to the surface. Definitely a level design WTF in my opinion. So the subway, yeah, not too much to say here again. For one thing, this is the first stage to not have its music available to listen to in the extras. Maybe that's because it's just ambient sounds. The only enemies you have to deal with are these guys in squeaky suits that either shoot at you with a shotgun or rush you with a baseball bat, and these stationary bombs too. The guys with the shotguns are real bastards. You think they just die when you kill them? But no, they have to sit up and fire one last time, and if you're not expecting it, you can take some real damage. That's why I always move out of the way just in case they do something like that. You can get the shotgun here too, which is an upgrade over the pistol. The only thing I can really comment on about the level is just how lucky Fry is that the tunnels he goes down haven't fully collapsed, so he has a way to proceed forward. Well, let's move on to old New York now. Here I have some things to say. To begin with, you have to deal with a load of enemies, including these assholes with RPGs, so that's fair. Also, look at how dark it is. I had to up the brightness of my capture card just to see what I was doing. Don't worry, I'll bring the brightness down for you in the video, as it looks like there's too much whiteness in the image. There's a puzzle you can do where you can get a nibbler and some cash, which I thought was really difficult when I was younger.
Say, that beam looks none too sturdy.
Turns out it's really easy. You can shoot the bottles behind the bar if you want to. Oh boy, this part. You're just walking down the streets of old New York, then blam! A warthog with dynamite strapped to its back comes rushing you. I can assure you that this haunted me as a kid and it still creeps me out now. How about this bit, where you have to ascend this multi-storey car park ramp, then more of these pigs come to chase you down. This is how it looks with the brightness adjusted. You can't even see where you're going, let alone deal with these suicidal warthogs. And when did you ever see that in the show? The sewer mutants, squid things, tentacle monsters, squeaky suit guys and exploding warthogs? I can't remember seeing anything like that from the show, but I get it, it's a game and it has to take liberty. Well, after that, you can find a little secret that references Leela, which I guess is supposed to be her parents' house. I'm fairly sure the location is inaccurate to the show, but let's carry on. You proceed through an old bank, laying grace to any squeaky suit guy that lies in your path, and any exploding warthog that wants to destroy you. Did you see that? The pig fell through the floor! Good! Unfortunately, I finished the level without all the cash collectibles, though I try my best to get everything. So unless it was in the back right corner, right at the end of the level, I wouldn't know where the one missing piece of cash was. Well, that's the 100% out of the window. But trust me, some levels later on are where I just didn't even try to go for the 100%. I'll get to that. But with that, we're moving on to the Red Light District. Excellent. Immediately at the start of the level you can get the Tommy gun, which is a full auto rifle that will be very helpful soon. Here you fight robots that are not the Hoverbot Death Troopers. They probably want to kill all humans, so you have to kill them back. There's a lot of advertisement for erotic shows of some description, but you can't see any of it, especially here. I can only imagine what is happening in there, and it kind of reminds me of a joke from the show. One complaint I have about this level is that if you fall in this section, you have to work your way back, which is a hassle. Plus, if you die here like I do, you have to do everything all over again, which sucks. Again, there's not that much I have to say here, so let's move on uptown. Oh come on, I missed one cash collectible again. I think you'll see that a few more times. Uptown starts off inside of a laundromat, and from here on out we are fighting the dreaded Hoverbot Death Troopers, who are real easy and not very deadly. I like how this robot is just casually slicing away at an infinite number of slugs, even with a curfew in effect. He must be preparing food for the troopers. This is yet another short level, so there isn't that much to say again, other than the fact that I didn't gain access to this level's music even though I 100%ed the stage. It must be because I didn't 100% the next level, New York, and hopefully you can see why. Fry ends this level by boarding a chicken walker and fighting his way to the pawn shop. New York is a unique level for Fry because this stage is unlike any other for him. In fact, it may be the most unique stage in the whole game in this regard, as it plays like an arcade rail shooter. You move the crosshair over where you want to fire and shoot, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You can't look back, so if you miss anything, you're buggered, as I was. If you fire the gun for too long, it overheats and slows its rate of fire down, so you have to stop firing if you want to fire shots in quick succession. You take down a couple of enemy chicken walkers and Hoverbot Death Troopers with RPGs, but ultimately, Fry prevails and is able to get the dark matter engine for the ship and return to Planet Express so the crew can leave Earth. We find out what Mom's plan is, as she is the effective ruler of Earth now, and she happens to have turned the planet into a gigantic spaceship. How did she manage to do this in the hours it took since the game began? Well anyway, Mom finds out about the Planet Express ship leaving Earth, looking like it's around Saturn, so she tries to move the Earth to stop them, but to no avail. Therefore, she heads to this asteroid in search of a dark matter engine, but Sal, a character from the show, informs Mom that she needs to speak to the professor in order to get one. So, an evil plan is formulated. Meanwhile, the Planet Express crew are navigating through an asteroid field and we find out that Bender is now a playable character.
Yes, you're a playable character.
This is the happiest day of my life.
Unfortunately, the ship gets caught in a tractor beam that is the result of Mom? Now wait a minute, didn't the Planet Express crew have a massive advantage over Mom when leaving the Earth? They managed to get to Saturn before Mom could even do anything. And how long did it take Mom to get to this asteroid? Why did the Planet Express crew even come through this asteroid field in the first place? Did they have to stop at the space services or something? Honestly, I believe this to be either a massive coincidence or a consequence of bad writing for the game. Okay, back to the cutscene. Bender panics and escapes the ship only to fall to his death, but the reanimator falls onto his remains and Bender comes back to life. With the Planet Express ship stuck in the suckway, it's time for Bender to strut his funky stuff in Riesel Canyon. FYI, this level has the most collectibles to find in the entire game, with 11 nibblers and 250 rubobium to find. Damn. And do you want to know something? I actually collected everything. Even though the level took me 40 minutes to complete. I spent the second longest amount of time on this stage, with the last level taking the cake, but I'll get to that later. So we can now play as Bender, but you can only dash into enemies or do this spin attack if they're close enough. Bender can butt bounce too, but I guess I forgot how to use this immediately after the game told me how to do it. You get introduced to a new mechanic here where if you press square and X simultaneously, you do a special move, but only if you've collected a charge which you can hold 4 of. It's pretty good, but Bender gets dizzy after you use it, so you have to be careful. While this is different, it's a shame Bender doesn't use a gun, you know, because his finger is one on the cover of the game box, but whatever. You can also go into a first person viewpoint by pressing R3, though I don't know of any instances where this is useful. I know this may come across as a little nitpicky, but considering how big Bender looked when he fell, it sure doesn't look like he's too far away from the source of the suck ray. That being said, you sure do take a long route just to shut this device down. Like instead of taking a short and sweet route, you go all the way around and through the asteroid. And isn't Bender supposed to be able to stretch out his limbs as seen in the show? So why doesn't he do that here? Well anyway, you think for a level I spent 40 minutes playing I would have a lot of things to say, but I really don't. You fight 2 types of weasels, I'm guessing, that either spit at you or roll into you. The rollers cannot be killed when they're rolling, which makes them a pain in the ass to deal with. In addition, there are these whipping things and sentient rock monsters that want to kill you, as well as accumulations of quicksand and abysses. You cross a dilapidated wooden bridge to get to this section where the camera angle is static, which is unique. You detonate some dynamite and cross this bridge, or wait, I'm like stuck below it with no way back up? What am I supposed to... Oh, I died, that's what I was supposed to do. After fighting some more enemies, you come up to one of Mom's sons, Igna, on a mounted gun, and the aim is to get in close and detonate some more dynamite to get to him. Of course we do this and he flees, so we pursue and where did he go? Ah, he must have went down this way to this thoughtfully provided lift. So down we go and immediately we get a boulder with a skeleton embedded in it coming after us for pretty much no reason, so we have to run. This level. Oh boy, I have to confess I didn't go for the 100% for this stage intentionally. My hand hurt pretty bad by holding down on the analog stick for so damn long. It doesn't help that these indestructible barrels are in the way, and the floor is riddled with bottomless pits. Plus, collectibles are in the most awkward possible spots, so if you get the 100% in this stage then kudos to you, I couldn't do it. Also, if you die, even if it's at the end of the stage, you have to do the whole level over again from the start. Yeah, you have to do a perfect run of the stage, which is easier said than done. Now let you think for a second. What does this remind you of? Perhaps a game on the PS1 that was pretty good? Well, let me tell you, Crash Bandicoot. Crash has a level called Boulders, which is pretty much this type of level. Run away from a boulder and navigate hazards. But I feel Crash does this concept better because, well, look, you have the opportunity to understand the situation and there are checkpoints throughout the stage. However, to get the gem for the stage, you have to break every box without dying after the first checkpoint. Some people may find this challenging, but it's fun. Also, look at the design. It's better than what we get in Futurama, where it's this same bland looking tunnel. It's constricted by design, so that may be a moot point to some. The music here is appropriate, though I guess my love for Crash outdoes that of Futurama, so Crash pretty much destroys Futurama's Run Bend Run stage on every front. And that came out 7 years prior on an older console, so that speaks volumes right there. I don't know if Crash originated the concept, though this is what I grew up with, and as such is the reason I'm making this comparison in particular. I like how the level ends with an arrow of Rubobium pointing towards the lift to escape. How kind of the developers. This takes us to the mine facility, where the lift breaks down immediately after we leave it because of course it does. You fight robots with saws and drills here, so you know what to do. You also see one of Mom's other sons, Larry, trying to kill you by activating the conveyor belt which has these crushers, red hot saw blades and lasers, which reminds me of Half-Life 1 and the residue processing facility that is nonsensical. So you make it past that and end up here with no obvious sign of where to go. How about here? No? How about the Nibbler? No? Well, it's clear there's nowhere else to go here, so what am I supposed to do? Oh, so I am supposed to go up here. But why didn't it work earlier then? I wasted 11 lives here, no joke. You move on to this stair puzzle, all you need to do is time your jumps right and work over up and to the left. After that it's more the same until you reach the control room and move the crusher out of the way, revealing an exit. I didn't get the 100% here, yet again. How many stages is that now? 5 out of 10? So I've done 50% of the 100% of stages up to this point, got it. Well, after that, Red Rock Creek is next. And it's pretty much like Weasel Canyon, so there's not that much to say. It starts off different enough with a timed escape to the next area after you activate this console. There's these rolling weasels that piss me off and nearly kill me, but I win. After that, there's a crashed UFO, and I die a few times, but that's what the 100% does to people. You fight a fair few sentient rock monsters, blow up some dynamite because fuck it reasons, and knock this rock over to reach a derelict spacecraft. Now here, things get creepy, and I love it. I remember getting to this point when I was a kid and being so fascinated by the design and the ambience. Even now, I find it amazing, and it installs questions in my mind like, how did this ship crash? What were the inhabitants like? Where was the ship going? How did these weasels get in here? Why does my foot hurt? As you can see, the only gameplay here is avoiding the pink goop and killing weasels. You reach the bridge and play some rocking music that causes some of the flooring to collapse. Now those must be some extravagant beats to reach the resonance frequency of the material used to make the flooring of that specific section of the bridge to cause it to literally self-destruct. I want a copy of that disc. You work your way down the wreckage and enter the Junkyard. Honestly, it pains me that this section wasn't longer and that it's right at the end of Red Rock Creek, because there's such a sudden tone change and it's shrouded in mystery. How the ominous purple fog pervades the air as far as the eye can see. I didn't even comment on the fact that Bender reveals he is 3 years old. That's how much the environment grips me.
Whoa! It's an old Galactic X-14 ship. These were so cool when I was a kid, 3 years ago.
This is what I call excellent aesthetic design. So good work, developers. However, I can't talk about this forever, so let's move on. The Junkyard tasks you with destroying enemy robots and working your way around these seesaw-esque metal tubes in this sea of wrecked spaceships. This part is nerve-wracking. You have to jump on these bent metal girders suspended over a drop to a disgusting creature of some description. You work your way into a wreck and the floor literally collapses from right under you, so you have to be careful where you jump. After that, there's this beach submarine or something that's here for some reason. Oh, I see, it's a level transition so you can't go back. When the level loads, you confront the last of Mom's sons, Walt, who has a shielded tank that you need to take out. The strategy is pretty much go left to an EMP turret, or whatever it is, run away to avoid the shockwave, then head to the right turret and fire to deal damage to the tank, all the while dodging balls of plasma fired from the tank, and rinse and repeat. It takes a little too long in my opinion, but we win and Walt retreats as the tank explodes, allowing us to proceed. Oh, and before I forget, the Junkyard and Rumble in the Junkyard, which is this level, uses the music from Red Rock Creek. Just thought I'd point that out. It's nice of this debris to land where it did to allow us to cross this divide of quicksand. Oh look, Mom's ship, but we can't get up there because the ledge is too high to ascend. It's not like, you know, Bender can stretch his limbs or anything. We probably won't even need to be worried about Mom. Why give a checkpoint here? It's literally the end of the stage with no enemies or hazards present, so another WTF moment? With the tractor beam down, the Planet Express ship rescues Bender and escapes the asteroid. And to think it was stuck in that sucker the entire time, how it never got down to the surface is beyond me. The Professor gives us a reference to someone who may be able to help us win the fight against Mom, a Doi, who lives on the planet Bogad in the corner of the universe. But the ship is running low of dark matter fuel, so we are tasked with finding some more. By some luck, the Professor managed to reprogram the reanimator to work for Leela too, in the minutes it took to rescue Bender and leave the asteroid. But guess what happens next? Just take a wild guess. Any ideas? Well, here you go. Mom captures the Planet Express ship. Now how in the holy mother of ass did this happen? Again, we have a situation where the Planet Express crew have a massive advantage over Mom, yet somehow she catches up. Was the Planet Express ship stationary when Leela went with the Professor to check out the reanimator or something? Oh, and of course Bender has to say,
I probably should have disabled her ship or something when I was down on that asteroid. Well, live and learn.
just to throw salt into the wound. So Mom beheads and kidnaps the Professor at gunpoint, even though Fry should have kept his weapons from early on in the game, but oh well. Then she spins her ship around at a very fast rate. Yeah, the centripetal force of this action should glue Mom into her seat, or even kill her, so she shouldn't be talking really. Then she throws the Planet Express crew into the sun? The sun? Well, it was lucky she released the Planet Express ship at just the right time to allow for this, so the Planet Express crew should be dead, right? Wrong. Now just as a detour, let's talk physics. The surface temperature of the sun is around 6000 Kelvin, with the corona being many times hotter, but let's ignore that for now. From my very rudimentary research, the metal with the highest melting point is tungsten at around 3700 Kelvin, while the substance with the highest melting point is something called tantalum hafnium carbide alloy, which melts at around 4260 Kelvin. Carbon nanotubes, diamond and graphite follow, which are all in the ballpark of around 3400, 3825 and 3925 Kelvin respectively, just to provide some examples. Now I'm no material science expert, so take this information with a grain of salt. On this basis, the Planet Express ship should melt before it even reaches the sun, yet it somehow doesn't. Then you see the Planet Express ship land on a rock and— what? A rock? On the surface of the sun? The sun is made up of hydrogen and helium plasma. There shouldn't even be anything solid there. And the surface is made up of lava apparently, so shouldn't this be more like Venus instead? Though there, you would get crushed by atmospheric pressure. So I guess in the Futurama lore, materials and technology were invented to withstand getting incinerated by the sun, that the sun is made up of lava, wait, the ship landed on that little rock? With an orientation that allows for easy escape and launching? How lucky, or unlucky, do they have to be to accomplish that? It's like me saying you have to land a standard fare die on a number 4, but it has to land on the Isle of Wight from 100,000 kilometres away, while ignoring any and all external factors. The odds of hitting that little chunk of rock are astronomical, given the distance that Mom launched us from. But hold on a minute, weren't we beyond the orbit of Saturn? Did we have to stop at the space services in the asteroid belt or the Kuiper belt for some reason? And look at how big the sun looks, they have to be within the orbit of Mercury or something for it to look that big. And Leela explicitly says it's the sun.
Oh no! We're heading straight into the sun!
And there's Sun City. So where in the holy fuck were the Planet Express crew going when they rescued Bender? Back to Earth? The one place they clearly stated they didn't want to be? Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the most WTF moment of the game, because it doesn't follow the laws of physics. And as a physics graduate, I have every right to tear this shit apart. So ignoring everything I just said about the realism of this ginormous coincidence, the inhabitants of this Sun City are afraid that an effective witch doctor arrived at the city and started resurrecting the dead. Basically, Sun City is infested with skeleton warriors, frying Bender pussy out of it, so it's up to Leela to save the day, or night, or whatever it be on the sun, all to get a nice stash of dark matter fuel that they just so happened to have ran out of. Leela plays similar to Bender in that you can only punch and kick enemies and not use a gun, even though the game cover art would suggest otherwise. And speaking of the game box, look at these images on the back. 0 out of 0 nibblers in the subway with 14 cash collectibles total, 6 out of 37 Robobium in Red Rock Creek. What state was this game in when those screenshots were taken? Because it is not representative of what's in the game, at least in this regard. Well anyway, there are some differences in gameplay again, which include the ability to perform a jump kick by pressing circle and X, a dashed kick by pressing X when running forward, and a roll by pressing R1. Like Bender, Leela gets a special attack by pressing square and X simultaneously, which requires a charge to use, where she hops up into the air and rapidly kicks all around her, though she doesn't get dizzy afterwards, unlike Bender. The first stage with Leela is incredibly short, I 100%ed it in less than 7.5 minutes. The skeleton warriors you encounter comprise of the deceased that want to shoot you, the undead that desire to stab you, and exploders that intend to dismember you. I honestly hate these exploders, because there's no opportunity to get away from them, and if they blow up with you near them, they do massive damage. That's why my strategy is to either get to higher ground or get them stuck on level geometry. Yeah, come chase me now, assholes! You sometimes get bigger and stronger enemies as you progress through the city, and occasionally you get these witch doctor disciples, or whoever that's supposed to be, that respawn down skeleton warriors, so you need to take them all out. Permanently. So from the introductory market square stage we move to the left wing. Here we get a memory puzzle where we have to input the correct pattern on these 4 tiles to open up the path forward. We move on down this street towards a courtyard area, all the while fighting skeletons. We get a glimpse of a crystal or something, which is obviously what we need to collect. So we jump across to this floor button that opens up a ceiling panel that allows us to get the aforementioned crystal. This opens up the way to a tower where Leela places the crystal, and moving onwards we get to this open area. It's obvious you have to get in here, but the door keeps closing if you move too close. What am I supposed to do here? Oh, so you jump kick the statue that causes a domino effect that blocks the doors, right. This grants you another crystal, and you begin to see that you need to place these crystals in towers around the central temple in order to proceed. You fight some more undead, and crap, I broke the crate to get to that secret. Well, I've screwed myself out of the 100% for this stage now, and what did I say earlier about being observant? Oh well, I might as well just... Now, how in the flip did that work? I No Man's skied it up and managed to get to a secret I shouldn't have even been able to reach. Well, I'm not complaining, so let's continue. What you will discover with Leela's levels are that they involve puzzles, like here, where you have to memorise the pattern and pull these levers in the right order, all while dodging shooting fireballs. If you manage to succeed, the path opens up, you fight skeleton asswipes and journey towards the right ring. Ah, the right ring. Now I have to confess something here, but let me just give you a quick rundown of what happens here. You solve puzzles and kill skeletons. There's this encounter where you have to get this contraption to shoot fireballs into these holes in the wall. Then you have to kill 4 reskinned sewer mutants that are covered in lava, meaning you cannot hurt them. What you do is wait for them to cool down, then attack them. There's this part with another contraption shooting at you, however you have to jump from floor button to floor button and not die. After that, you ring a bell that causes a skeleton to sail a boat over to you, allowing Leela to cross a river of lava. Oh, and there's 2 more crystals too, which opens up the way to the temple if you can get past this next bit. Now here is where I have to confess that when I was a kid, this is as far as I got in the game legit. This part was ungodly. And I believe I have a case of the Mandela effect here, as I thought the platforms were already in the lava instead of being fully raised. You have to jump from platform to platform in the right order, otherwise you die. And this is right at the end of the right ring too. Now I thought the level ended here, but there's a small section at the end you have to get past with no checkpoint, so be very careful, you don't want to do that platforming section again. You solve a final puzzle and gain access to the temple courtyard. I didn't get the 100%, but I don't care, I was just happy to get past this stage legit for like the 2nd time in my life. Now I have seen the later stages of the game when I was younger, but this was with cheat codes. This time around, there's no excuse to cheat. I'm beating this legitimately, no matter how hard it gets. Moving on. Yeah, there's another level like Market Square. It's really short and there's not much to say. You kill bad guys, pull levers in the right order, and finally gain access to the temple. I 100%ed this stage in 10.5 minutes, so it's not too bad. All of Leela's stages so far have used the same music, before I forget to mention it. The inner temple is next, which reminds me of something out of Indiana Jones. I mean look, you have a holy temple, a ridiculous number of traps to navigate, gold bars to collect and puzzles to solve. I'm surprised there's not a lost ark or a crystal skull in here somewhere. Leela can go into a first person perspective like Bender, and I find it funny that Bender gets this night vision or something, and Leela has this singular oval, you know, because she has one eye. I hate this part. And more skeletons and puzzles that lead to more skeletons and puzzles. But at last we reach the Sun God. I suppose the guy we spoke to earlier was supposed to be the Sun God or Sun King, but he was outed by this guy, and this is who's responsible for summoning all of those skeleton assholes, so it's time to kick ass. You have to jump from platform to platform to avoid incoming fireballs that progressively get faster, but ultimately, we win. He falls into the lava and hopefully dies, and we make a daring escape. With the evil Sun God down, we obtain our reward of dark matter to allow us to get to Bogad, but hold on, isn't dark matter in Futurama supposed to be really heavy? How are these puny aliens pushing it around so easily? That's a contradiction from the show, but I guess this is offset by the fact that the temple collapses in the background as we leave. Yeah, screw this hellhole, they deserve the fate they get. Back on Earth, Mom has rigged the Professor's head to this device that allows the Earth to fly through space and destroy planets. Let's just say there's no easy way to win from here, but maybe a Doi has something that can help. So, the crew arrive at Bogad and Zoidberg is here because... cameo?
What are you doing here?
Making a cameo!
How in the fuck did he get here? No, seriously, bollocks to this cameo garbage. This needs a proper explanation. So, we meet a Doi and he introduces us to...
The Time Tunneler!
However, the generator is all the way down a dangerous path, and it's up to none other than Dr. Zoidberg to save the day. Yeah, that's right, we play as Zoidberg in this game. So the objective here is to race through this section within the time limit, otherwise Leela will use the Time Tunneler to rewind time to allow you to try again. Thankfully, if you fail, you don't lose a life, so you effectively have an infinite number of attempts to get by. My attitude towards this stage is the same as when Bender won. I willingly didn't go for the 100% and failed way too many times for my liking. Seriously, I must have failed like 30 times, yet still managed to beat the stage without rewinding time, though the clock did count down a little close on more than one occasion. I like these moments too, where Leela compliments Zoidberg, then I crash into something immediately afterwards.
Way to not screw up, Dr. Z! Now, alright, you crazy crab! Just one more death-defying run to go. No pressure, although the fate of the entire universe does depend on it, so don't blow it like you own.
Also, you have to enjoy failing not even 2 seconds into the stage. Classic. Again, I have to bring up Crash Bandicoot, as this level is very similar in style to one called Hog Wild. However, I feel the hog in Hog Wild controls way better, and the boxes are easier to get to. Plus, how can you not love that face? The music in Futurama is appropriate, and I honestly feel that Futurama has the better background detail compared to Crash, but there are way too many hazards. Crash wins on everything else in my opinion. So, Zoidberg navigates his way to the generator and enables it, which powers up the time tunneler, allowing the Planet Express crew to go back in time to a point before Mom took over. Oh, and Zoidberg is left behind to eventually deal with the wrath of Mom, so bye Zoidberg. But with that, we see the Planet Express ship materialise in New York and they land back at HQ. The crew from the future take the old ship, leaving the old crew with the new ship, which explains why the ship was all banged up at the start of the game. They must have moved the reanimator too, but we don't see that happen. They crash the ship into Mom's HQ, respawn from the reanimator and warn the professor about the consequences of signing the agreement to sell Planet Express. Mom talks the crew into a trap, and now we begin the end game, starting with Bender's breakout. We see Destructor walk in, initiating target practice mode. That means he's firing at us, so we have to get the hell out of here. Bender has to climb around the room, avoiding lasers, and press a button to open a door to leave. Also, look at the bottom right of the screen. That's right, no cash collectibles, which means no extra lives. Basically, however many lives you walk into the endgame with is all you get. This sucks, but it only gets worse. Take this, a code puzzle that comes out of nowhere. You have to recognise the pattern and input the missing numbers before the timer expires to proceed, otherwise you fall to your death. Here though, it's fairly simple. You can see the pattern is that you subtract 1 from the previous number. Well, you proceed and what am I supposed to do here? I'm low on health and this bomb thing keeps chasing after me. Do I... Oh, you butt bounce. You know, the move that I completely forgot about earlier. Yeah, it turns out you need to use that here. I think you need to butt bounce on the bomb thing here, as it opens up a panel to proceed. This takes you down to a section where you have 4 encounters to complete. For the first part, you need to dash and butt bounce to kill this guy. Then there's this big monstrosity, you just have to outrun it then butt bounce it at the top. Section 3 has the enemies from section 1 and 2 together, and the final section has the big monstrosity that you have to kill while the floor panels collapse from under you. But if you can survive, you beat the level and move on to Leela's last laugh. Much like with Bender, Leela starts off getting shot at by Destructor, so you have to figure out how to leave. You get past this part with conveyor belts and lasers to get to another code puzzle. Without spoiling the solution, all I can say is it's symmetrical. This only took me 6 attempts to figure out, unlike the 1 attempt in the previous level. After this, it's corridor after corridor of stationary turrets, laser grids and keycards, so you have to figure out where to go based off of the numbered doors and labelled keycards. Once you get past that, it's more collapsing floor tiles and a room packed full of lasers, almost like something out of James Bond or Mission Impossible. If you find the right path, you beat the level and progress to the last level of the game, Fry Fights Back. I mentioned earlier that this level took me the longest to complete, and I'll tell you why. For now though, understand that the level begins like the previous two, where you have to avoid Destructor's shots and find a way out. Once out, you get to this long corridor with a stationary turret at the end, so you have to zig and zag into these kindly provided gaps to get here. Another code puzzle, which you need to solve to get the railgun. The solution is kind of like 2 to the power of x, if you know what that means. This took me 7 attempts to figure out. But with that, you get the railgun, which means it's time to murder some hoverbot death troopers, which die in only 1 shot. Plus there's ammo vending machines, so you can never really run out of ammo. Good! So you carry on and another one? 2 code puzzles in the same level, what the fuck? And look at what you're given to work with. The solution here is to decrement the odd and increment the even, which took me 5 attempts to get. And keep in mind, there's no chance to get any additional lives. I walked into the endgame with 26 lives and now I'm down to 5, with 15 being lost in figuring out these code puzzles on my own, without cheating or looking up the solutions online. I honestly thought there may have been something within the levels telling you explicitly what the codes are, or even provide hints as to how to solve them, but you get nothing. I was lucky to not lose all my lives here. You know what happens when you lose all your lives? You have to start the whole level over. In hindsight, I can imagine something like this could be useful in determining what someone's IQ is. Now I know some of you may suggest that IQ is an indicator of intelligence, but it's really more about pattern recognition. You can be an intelligent person but have a low IQ and vice versa. I wonder what my IQ would be based off of the number of attempts it took me to solve these code puzzles, or how any of you watching fared against this. Well anyway, back to the level. There's more zigging and zagging to do, disabling turrets and obtaining keycards. This takes you here, there and everywhere until you get to this part where you have to platform and eventually work your way up to a higher vantage point, beginning the final boss encounter. Oh look at that, I got shot instantly before I could even do anything, thanks game. Now here is where most of the time in this level went. You have to avoid Destructor's shots, missiles and mosquito bombers or whatever, all the while trying to hit him in his weak spot, which is the stomach area. Unfortunately, you cannot lock onto the weak spot from where you are, so you have to get lucky with your blind fire. The room to the left of Destructor has a slow vending machine for health, and the room to the right has an ammo vending machine. To gain access to these rooms, you need to bait Destructor into shooting at these small boxes that are generating a laser grid in front of the doors. Do you want to know how long it took me just to complete this boss fight? Around 25 minutes. And do you want to know something I figured out by complete accident? You can go into this first person viewpoint by pressing R3 that gives you an aim reticule. Yeah, so instead of lucky blind fire, you're supposed to go into first person mode and aim over Destructor's weak point to deal damage. And the funny part about this was that I beat Destructor in less than 1 minute after realising this. I'm not even joking. The level itself took me 48 minutes to complete, 25 for the final boss and 23 for everything else, including the code puzzles. But with that, Destructor dies and we win! We see Igna tamper with the reanimator, causing it to blow up, meaning if Fry, Leela or Bender die now, there's no coming back. Of course, the reanimator hits Destructor, giving him a slight nudge that causes him to fall onto the Planet Express crew. How awfully convenient. The Professor, outraged by this, voids the deal with Mom, but Mom throws in a hat and oh no, don't say. No, you don't mean.
Good news, everyone! I've sold Planet Express to Mom!
That's right. It didn't even matter and the game repeats itself endlessly in an infinite loop. Nothing we did mattered. Cue the credits. Now I can at least respect the fact that time travel in this game does not lead to paradoxes, so it makes sense that this is the way things had to pan out. but it sucks knowing that Mom Takes Over the Earth probably takes over the universe and there's nothing that can be done to stop her, unless the game pulls a ghosts and goblins and makes you beat the game twice in order to get the proper ending. I don't think Futurama here pulls a move like that though. But that is the game, and I hope you enjoyed the ride with me. Now I know I didn't go over absolutely everything, like the exploding barrels in the sewers and the fact that if you fall from these pipes in the mine facility you take fall damage and there's no health pickups in that section, or the fact that you play less levels with newer characters. Fry has 8 in total, Bender has 7 and Leela has 6, with Zoidberg having 1 too. I managed to get 14 out of the 20 to 100% throughout the game, for anyone wondering, with a total playtime of around 6.5 hours. All in all, I think this game is pretty good, but it has flaws. The platforming needed a little extra polish. Run Bender Run and Bogad Swamp Trail, while being different levels, didn't play as well as Crash, which did the premise earlier and better in my opinion anyway. Also, the premise of the game could have avoided these awkward levels and WTF moments if only the game was inspired directly from scenarios from the show, as in you play episodes of the show in this game or something equivalent, instead of this whole Mom takes over the earth and we can't do anything about it story. The music in the game, which has been the background music of this video for the most part, is also very good, being composed by Christopher Ting, the guy who did the music for the Futurama show. Overall, I think the game is alright, with its fair share of comedic moments, but has some frustrating elements to it, which was reflected in the review scores for the game when it released, all of which are in the ballpark of 5 to 7 out of 10 territory. Honestly, I feel the game became more of a puzzle game than a platformer towards the end, starting from the left wing level. Of course, I'm not against puzzle games, but here it's more like I'm doing an IQ test than playing a fun shooting platformer game. I'm not a review score kind of guy, so I won't participate in that sort of practice here. What I will say is this: if you like the Futurama TV show, or like 3D platforming games with an unorthodox jumping button, with its fair share of challenge, then I recommend. With that being said and done, I hope you liked the video. Consider buying me a coffee to support the effort of creating videos similar to this one, and I'll see you for whatever I decide to do next. Feel free to comment with suggestions for future videos. I will at the very least consider it. Take care everyone, and have a great day.